Finally, we have come to end of the unit, which is on session 6. Before we wrap up finally, let's look at the objectives briefly for the final part of the unit. We have 4 objectives for this session. Objective 1 is to be able to identify and describe at least 2 types of reading materials. 2, state the differences between field trips and the use of resource persons. 3, explain why the use of newspapers and magazines are important for the teaching and learning of social studies. 4, identify the differences between the concept, audio, and visual resources. There are a lot of resources that can be used as far as teaching and learning of social studies is concerned. Our duty is to look at some of the resources that can be used in teaching social studies. The first resource is reading materials. Reading materials. Textbooks is one of the important sources of ideas as far as teaching social studies is concerned, and they have a powerful effect on the social studies program across the globe. Textbooks is one of the reading materials that can be used in teaching of social studies. So the textbook, it indicates what the teacher can do and what the students can also learn. But unfortunately, presently there is no textbook, especially at the second cycle level for social studies. Teaching. There is no approved textbook. Another reading material is reference. Just like the textbooks, which provide additional information for the social studies, the reference book also provide additional information for the teaching of social studies. It helps the teacher to get extra information. Some of the reference books are encyclopedia, yearbooks, dictionary, atlases, manuals, and bibliographies, as well as what? Source books. You should be able to identify or know what some of these reference books look like. I hope you know some or all of these books. If you don't know them, can you do this as an assignment? Look for what these books are. When I say encyclopedia, what does it look like? Yearbook, dictionaries, atlases, manuals, bibliographies, source books. Then another resource is community resources. Community resources. There are 2 ways that a social studies teacher can use the community resources. One, through field trips, what we are calling field trip. It is to enable students gain first-hand experience of the issues of the subject matter discussed in a class. If the teacher is teaching about the history of the community, the teacher can take the students to the chief palace. When they go there, the chief or whoever is a representative will educate or give talks about the history of the community. Then another way the teacher can use the community resource is through resource person. There are specialists in the communities that the school is situated. Depending upon the topic, the teacher can invite, it could be a nurse, a doctor, a banker, a linguist to the class to give a talk on a particular issue. Another resource can be newspapers and magazines. And we have two types of newspapers. Those that the children can write themselves, and those that are written for adults. I mean, there are newspapers for children and there are newspapers for adults. Can you mention an example of children's newspaper? What about the adult ones? Another resource can be audiovisual resources. Audio means our ability to hear with our ears and make meaning out of them. And then we also have pictures, charts, photographs, films, radio, television. So primarily audiovisual material or resources are used for or to supplement textbooks and audio media. Audiovisual materials has a number of benefits or advantages. It stimulates the interest of students in what is being treated. If you bring television or a radio or a player to the classroom, instantly you see the students' reaction towards it. It also makes lesson real. Your students will be given the opportunity to watch or hear topics being discussed in its natural setting. Because sometimes there are discussions on the TV or on the radio. You can record if it is possible and come and play or come and show in the classroom. It makes the lesson real. There's also few disadvantages. Can you mention one disadvantage of audiovisual material? Do you say some are very expensive to acquire? And also areas where there is no electricity, these audiovisuals will be very difficult to be used. Another category of resources are maps and globe collections. Ideally, it is stated you need one globe for every 2 students. Is it practicable in our context? Apart from the globe, have you seen anyway globes before? Apart from the globes, we also have X maps, which are sometimes included with textbooks programs and they can be purchased from several publishing companies. Apart from the desk map, you also have wall maps which are sold on the market. You can purchase it and display it on the walls of the classroom. Interestingly, there are some that can be rolled up and down and maybe because of space and all that. So I think the roll ones, that is the warm up, are very good where you have challenge with what space in the classroom. You fold it as at the time you want to use it, then you roll it down. So having come to the end of this session, can you take down the following assessment, self-assessment questions? 1. Identify and describe 2 types of reading materials you will consider suitable for social studies. 2. State the differences between field trips and the use of resource persons. Explain why the use of newspaper and magazine are important for the teaching and learning of social studies. Then the last one, identify the difference between the concept, audio, and visual resource. Thank you.